Hi friends, Starry, and I'm so excited. If you have been following the great Back to Eden garden transformation, well, today in this video, I'm finally going to be showcasing a Back to Eden garden tour. Yeah, and this is kind of the highlight because it's finally August and things are exploding. And I'm just so overjoyed. You know, when I chose the Back to Eden garden method, it really chose me. And I never thought that God would bring me full circle when it came to gardening. You know, when we choose our gardening method, it really is just about, planting seeds, growing the plant, watering them, harvesting them, but not for someone like me. I love the Lord, and for me, the method chose me because it was almost like the Lord was showing me not just how to plant that seed, but how to water it, how to nurture it, how to help it grow. You know, the layers and the weeding. It all reflects our walk with Christ, doesn't it? So I look at the Back to Eden garden method as something that isn't really a method. It is really, how can I say this? It is really a walk with God in the Garden of Eden, where He is teaching and refining us and reflecting it in nature. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So today I am able to finally grab the camera and give you my first tour, and I'm so happy. But I will say real quickly, it has been a challenge. This is the very first year in this garden, and it's been difficult. And I want to maybe forewarn those who are doing the same process, taking a very conventional garden and turning it into a Back to Eden garden. The first year, you may find yourself watering a little bit more, weeding a little bit more, maybe adding some amendments, because simply the layers really need to start building up and they really need to start decomposing and before you can have the full effects of the beauty of what nature does. So be patient. See, that's another thing that God teaches us. Patience, right? All right, let's go on the tour and I'll show you exactly how well my garden is doing and how I've been blessed. Well, at the rooster's crow, here we go. Now, Mr. and Mrs. C actually, and I have footage of some earlier footage of what my garden looked like compared to what was going on in the very conventional garden. But they got to a point where it was so difficult to manage the weeds, they actually ended up cutting everything in their garden. And you can see, I mean, Mr. C just worked so hard to cut all the weeds because the garden just got so overtaken. But if you pan over here to my garden, there are no weeds. All the weeds stop right at the wood chip. But I am so excited because look at the growth. Look, you know, I am getting finally tomatoes that match and rival what I used to have on the homestead. And lettuce, anybody? I have never, ever, ever been able to grow lettuce like this back at the homestead. Yeah. You see, God gives and God can take. He allows and then He disallows. It's how God refines us and works. And it's the same thing in a garden. You know, what I lost became gain for me. And this garden is a great reflection of that in my life. But look at the lettuce and look at the tomatoes. And if you remember my carrot seeds, look at that. I got healthy green tops. And my tomatoes are getting so big that I finally had to get some type of, they're not cages, but I finally had to get something to support them. And I have been cutting these tomatoes down. I've been cutting them down and cutting them down. Look at these. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, this is great. And there still is some weeds, and you can see, and I know people will say, this is not a weed. Well, when something as beautiful as this begins to take over a garden, like it did over here, and chokes it out, it becomes a weed. And it may be good in some people's salads, but I want to grow vegetables that I can eat and that will nourish me. And I don't want a whole garden full of, what is this called? Queen's nest. So I know I was pulling these and people were freaking out because I was saying these are weeds. But in a garden like this, they are weeds because they have the tendency to choke out all the good, beautiful things that the Lord is trying to grow here. But look at these. These are my heirlooms. Isn't that gorgeous? And you know, I was feeling a little bit depressed because all my friends in Texas and Georgia and the South, they were harvesting months and months ahead of me. But again, patience. The Lord needs to teach all of us patience, and all in good time, right? Every good work, if you depend on the Lord, will sooner or later glorify Him. And this method really is. So some of the things I'm excited about is, look. And I know, I have friends that have plants that are 3 times the size. But that's okay, because I've got my first squash. And the one disappointing thing I will say is some of the pepper plants. Now, it's not as hot down here in the valley, so I did suffer a little bit. Mr. and Mrs. C kind of warned me about pepper plants. They said pepper plants never, ever, ever, ever do well in their garden. But you know what? Some of them are really looking nice. In fact, one that I'm very, very proud of is, look, my Anaheim. Isn't that gorgeous? And I just kept thinking, I'm never going to have pepper plants like I used to have. They're getting there. They're getting there. But look at, this is my romaine lettuce. Isn't that gorgeous? And look. I got some bell peppers. Aren't those beautiful? And this one's finally, this pepper plant is finally looking a little bit better. I mean, just about 2 weeks ago, this one was ready to die. My onions, I've got onions coming up, and I haven't pulled any, but they're ready for harvest. Look at that. I got some huge onions, and I already started my second crop, and see, and this is the problem. See, this is choking out my broccoli. This is the problem with, even though it's all edible and I can put it in my salad, it's choking out my good stuff. And the only reason why is because when I start a new area, and you'll find this with your first year gardening with the Back to Eden garden, you need to start an area without any wood chips, and then you risk having those weeds come up. But still, look at that. Oh, and I've got, oh my gosh, look at my big red onion. And did you see my cabbages are finally coming? Finally, the heads. Just, you know, cabbages are kind of hard to grow, but those are coming up. My second crop of, finally, I just planted this about 4 weeks ago. My second crops of carrots are beginning to come up. And look at my beautiful, beautiful marigolds. Aren't those, I've never had marigolds like this. Even on the homestead, I never had marigolds like this. So you see, my friends, the Lord has, He's rejuvenating me with my very own garden. I can't believe it. It just makes me so happy. And you know what? There are things that, of course, didn't do well, like zucchini. I've got no zucchini, but you know what? All my friends at work, they're bringing me zucchini so I can make zucchini relish. Again, God makes up for what we lack. And what I lacked in this garden, my friends are offering and they're making up for it, which is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So you see, when you have the Lord, you are never alone. When you have fellowship, you are never alone. God will provide. So in closing, I'm not just going to say, there's the proof in the pudding, but I'm also going to say that there is proof of God.